What is going on, guys? Happy Saturday to all of you wonderful people that are watching live or watching the replay. As Joe said in the comments already, he will be back later. So, thanks for joining me today, guys. We finally get football tomorrow. I was kind of expecting the Thursday night football game to be a lot better than it was. I feel like on paper, it seemed like it would be a pretty good game, and then it ended up being kind of crappy, if we're going to be honest. Hopefully the Patriots game won't be the same. That's what I'm hoping. There's not like a whole lot to talk about today, but I kind of wanted to go in and break down both sides of the ball of the Patriots and of the Texans. So this is certainly a must-win game for the Patriots going into this game again on another loss at home. They're going to be going to Houston. So, they're starting the season 1-3. The Texans are 1-3 as well. But it's not a good start to the year having 3 home losses already. So, to kick things back into gear, I think they definitely need to win this game. Next week, they're playing the Cowboys, which I think originally when the game was added as their 17th game, I think most people were excited about it because it seemed like it was going to be a good game. But it also kind of had that feeling of maybe being a game that they could win. And as of right now, I don't feel super confident going against the Cowboys. They're looking really good right now. And, we have a healthy Dak Prescott, a seemingly healthy Zeke. So but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Before I get into all this, Faisal says Geno Smith, quarterback 1. No. I mean, he held his own. I definitely have to give him some props for how well he did do coming in for Russell, but I still feel like the Seahawks are a team that should be calling Cam, if we're being honest. Like, it's possible that Russell's season could be over. I know that the doctors were seeming a little bit more optimistic about it, saying that they think he will definitely return this year. I'm just not sure. It's a finger on his throwing hand, and he had surgery, so it just seems a little bit more intense than what was originally thought to not be something serious. So anyway, let's get right into this game. So let's talk about the injuries first, because the Patriots definitely have a long list. So we already know quite a few players that are out. That's going to be Trent Brown again, who the Patriots also this afternoon put on IR. So he's going to be out for at least 3 more games. I think he played 1 or 2 games this year so far, and now he's going to be gone. And, originally his injury was not said to be serious and not something that they thought that would be keeping him out for a prolonged period of time. So it's really unfortunate that we are at a point where we're at a must-win game. There's a bunch of other injuries on the offensive line, and one of the more dominant pieces on the offensive line is injured and for sure out for 3 more weeks. So that was certainly not good. Shaq Mason is out. Sean Wade is out. Jalen Mills was announced to be out today, and Ronnie Perkins. So, Jalen Mills, I know that a lot of people, like I've said a million times, were not super thrilled about him being on the team, but he's held his own pretty well this season so far. So I think that's going to be a little bit more of an impact on the secondary than we anticipated. Isaiah Wynn and Mike Onwenu are looking like they're not going to be playing either. They're still on the COVID list. And I think according to Mike Reese, I believe, or I think it was Mike Reese, there was a bunch of Patriots beat reporters that are out today talking about this. And I think because they're still on the COVID list today, then that means that they will not be playing tomorrow. So, the offensive line just keeps getting all of those injuries and being the worst part of the football team right now. It definitely is going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. And this is for sure from Mike Reese. The Patriots did elevate quite a few players today from the practice squad. So they did bring up James Ferentz, Alex Redmond, and Will Sherman. They also brought up Miles Bryant, which I think is good because he had some good moments last year. He actually outperformed, I think, a lot of people's expectations. And then, of course, I think that we might actually be seeing Jamie Collins. So that would be super exciting. I haven't seen anything about him missing tomorrow's game. I think the familiarity with the team is certainly a big bonus for the Patriots. And, the the defense is not the side of the ball for this team that needs, that type of veteran energy. It's definitely the offensive line. But I do want to make a note that it was reported that Collins was coming in and was going to be number 30. And he spoke to the media yesterday or Thursday. I'm not sure. He actually switched back to number 58, which was the number that he had the last time he was on the Patriots. And he actually had to pay Anthony Jennings to get that number because Jennings had that number. He said he had to pay him a couple $1,000s. So I thought that was kind of funny. Colin said that he didn't like the way number 30 looked. And I thought it was funny just because I totally get that. I feel like there's certain numbers on jerseys that just kind of look weird. Like I feel like a lot of the numbers like in the 40s just look kind of ugly. And I don't know. I feel like it's nice to have him back at a number that we are familiar with. So let's get into Texans out, players out. So right now it looks like it's just going to be Rex Burkhead, which I guess to us is to the Patriots is a benefit because obviously he's going to be a player that is very familiar with the Patriots and how they work. And he's definitely a really great player. I don't know exactly what injury he's dealing with. I want to say it was something with his leg. I can't remember though, or a hip. No, I think it was a hip. So that's not good. Hopefully he can get better. Obviously, I want to see him be successful because I really like Rex. But that works in the Patriots' favor, of course. Questionable players are another long list for the Patriots. Cody Davis, Kyle Duggar, Nick Folk, Jonathan Jones, Kyle Van Noy, and Justin Bethel. So Kyle Van Noy is a little... it's another name that, they brought back this year, just like Trent Brown, and he's just been dealing with injury after injury, it seems like. It seems like he's never healthy this year. And I don't know if that might explain him being a little bit more quiet this season. I was expecting a little bit more from him, I think, in his return. Maybe that's what it is. I did see that this week it is a groin injury. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, but bringing back Jamie Collins certainly helps. For the Texans, their questionable players are Danny Amendola, Marcus Cannon, and Brevin Jordan. So Danny Amendola and Marcus Cannon, again, two former Patriots that are very familiar with the team. So Amendola, I feel like we have played them when he was on another team. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. He isn't having the greatest season, I mean, as far as numbers go, but I feel like he's kind of just having a season that's pretty on track for what we expect normally. He seems to have only had like a fantastic career when he was with the Patriots. So I don't think that he's the biggest threat. The biggest threat, which I'll get into later, is another former Patriot in Brandon Cooks. So, if you have him in fantasy, you're very familiar. I'm one of those people. He's had some really great games and seems to be the favorite target for whoever the quarterback is on the Texans this year. First, we know that it was Tyrod Taylor who was put on IR in September, just a couple weeks ago. And now it is Cody Davis, who is a rookie and is having a very rough rookie season. And I mean, I can't blame him completely because, I mean, he went to the Texans, which is kind of just a ridiculous team right now. So, I mean, I don't know how many quarterbacks would be successful anyway. Taylor was looking like he was going to be having a great year too, but then he got injured. So I don't know what's going on with him exactly. I don't know the injury. If you guys can tell me what it is, feel free. I see you guys talking about Rex Burkhead. So let's give him a shout out really quickly. Joel says Rex is solid. Faisal says, please let Sexy Rexy come back. Please. I would love that. Unfortunately, obviously, if he's injured, then that is not going to benefit the team at all. But the running game for sure could definitely use him this year. And with James White being done for the year, it would have been nice to have Burkhead still. But as we know, they were probably going to sign one of them and not the other. But I mean, if the injury is not too serious and they somehow want to maybe trade Burkhead or something, then I'm all for it. They do have Ingram, who seems to be their leading back. So I don't know. I feel like the Patriots would certainly use him a lot. But there's a lot in the running back room. There's a lot of drama there. We know. So the biggest concerns of this game, of course, which I asked you guys on Twitter, and I think it's like the biggest concern of everybody, it's pretty obvious. It's going to be the offensive line. And how is Mac Jones going to deal with the lack of reliability on the line? How is his production going to be? How is the run game going to be impacted by this as well? Because I think a lot of people were assuming again that this was going to be a game that the Patriots were going to have to use their run game because they have not been doing well. Last week, they actually had -1 yards. What was it for, like eight carries or something like that? So I don't know if that was something that they were going to try to kickstart again this week, but with all of these backups in, basically, besides David Andrews on the line, I'm just not sure how well that's going to go. And of course, I'm very concerned about the protection of Mac, because that is one of the bigger issues this season so far. Is, I mean, of course, Mac is making some rookie mistakes. Sometimes he is occasionally not seeing people open, or holding the ball too long, or running into an opponent, basically. But the line is certainly not helping him at all. They're not able to keep him upright, and he can't be successful if he's constantly on the ground. So I'm not sure how that's going to do. I think that's going to be a big concern for a while. Like, we don't know how long these injuries are going to be. We know for sure that Trent Brown will be out for the next 3 weeks for sure. Onwenu and Isaiah Wynn are on the COVID list. We haven't heard anything about which one of them tested positive and which one of them was a close contact. We don't know if either of them are vaccinated. We haven't heard anything about, like, if they're seeing any symptoms or feeling any symptoms. I'm sorry. We basically haven't gotten any updates in regards to that. So it's really hard to gauge the timeline of either of their returns. You would assume the one that was just a close contact would maybe be able to return sooner, but we haven't heard anything. So with the assumption that they are out tomorrow, we can only hope that they will be back sooner rather than later. I know that people aren't too, in love with Isaiah Wynn, but he's basically been, he's been okay. He's been doing his job. We need it. I don't even really care. He's a starter at this point, and there's no starters. There's 4 starters on the line that are out. Side note, Ross told me that the Celtics are winning 11-1. Woohoo! I know I didn't even know that they were on at the same time, but I'm excited. I can't believe that we're almost into basketball season. Anyway, I could talk about that. We'll talk about that at the end. Keep updating me, Ross, if you stay here. That would be very much appreciated. Thank you. So let's see. Phil Perry said this is on Justin Herron because he is probably going to play left tackle tomorrow. He said that Herron has played over 200 left tackle snaps last year. But is it Kajust? I want to say it's Kajust had a solid end to camp when he played on the left side in place of Isaiah Wynn. So those two could probably alternate tomorrow. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised they're going to have to at some point. I'm assuming that they're not going to, be playing one the entire game. Also, it's just going to depend on how they're doing, because we saw how they've been doing that with the offensive line, especially this year, as they've just been rotating people in and out. So I'm sure that's probably what's going to happen too. Also, Durant is probably going to be playing, which we haven't, seen the greatest production from him so far, but you got to use the people that you have. Durant and Herron have only played right tackle on the offensive line this season so far, but Kajust has not played an offensive snap as a pro. So that's, it's just, I have a feeling that tomorrow is probably going to be a little bit messy. I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible because, the Texans are not a super fantastic team. So if they can take advantage of all of the mistakes that they've been making as far as like turning the ball over, especially, and then if the defense can get to Davis, I think the defense might have to be a big reason why this the Patriots win tomorrow, because they definitely need to win. I don't know where you go from here if you don't win tomorrow. Cowboys game is not going to be a cakewalk, that's for sure. So, like I saw someone earlier, they need a morale booster. Like they need some positivity, optimism from a win. They need that feeling again. It's been a few weeks now, and sometimes a team just needs that type of energy back into the locker room, even if it only lasts that one day and then they lose again. I think it's important. And let's get, so this is a concern. So because of the offensive line issues, so far, Mac has been sacked 10 times, I believe, this year. I'm going to double check on that. I feel like that's a wrong number. I'm going to just go with 10 because I don't even want to try. I don't even want to try to find that right now. So that's obviously an issue. Hopefully that doesn't continue too much tomorrow. It's like, I think that we have to go into this game tomorrow and expect that the offensive line is not going to be what we want it to be, that the run game is not going to be what we want it to be. And maybe this is something that Mac has been able to work on and try to overcome, because it doesn't look like there's an end in sight for all of these issues. We don't know the severity of most of the injuries that these guys have, and there's not really a timetable for when any of them will be back. So this is probably what is going to have to be dealt with for however many games now. So hopefully there's a way that they can kind of try to get Mac to maneuver his way through that, and maybe not make, I don't know. We have to, there's got to be something that they have to figure out, there's no end in sight right now. So they have to do something in order to be successful. So this is the biggest concerns of the game, reminding you guys what we said at the beginning, is ball security. They have 6 fumbles on the year so far, 3 of which were then recovered, and 4 interceptions. And Mac has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Certainly not the best of numbers. However, you can't really put all of the blame on him for the interceptions. I have to say, I know at least 2 of them were either batted or like bobbled from the receiver, and then the defense ended up just getting it. And I hate that those count on the quarterback, because it's not their fault. They could have thrown a very perfect, beautiful ball, and the player that was meant to catch it, the receiver, just hit it the wrong way, and it just went right into the defense's arm. So the fumbles, though, that is an issue. Obviously, we've seen Mac has fumbled, and the running back seemed to be the biggest issue with the fumbling. I don't know how that's going to work out tomorrow either. JJ Taylor, he fumbled last week. So I don't know how much we're going to see of either of them. I would love to see Stevenson more, though. I feel like he's the type of running back that they need right now, especially with James White out, and them seemingly not wanting to use really anyone but Damien Harris, it seems, at this point. So they're going to have to bring someone else in. It can't just be Damien Harris or nobody. So I would really like to see Ramondre Stevenson in, kind of try to get him out of the doghouse if that's what the issue is, because of his fumble. There are rumors that people believe that he might be on the bench for the rest of the year, and it's possible. We know that Belichick certainly loves to redshirt rookies, so we'll have to see. I don't think that he should be taking all of the blame for the fumbling. It's not been just an issue with, specifically him. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Ross said, Patriots offense needs to improve personnel usage in the passing game. Start using these talented running backs in the passing game. Yeah, and I think that's a big spot that we're missing James White, because he was always that go-to guy in the passing game, and he's not there. Same thing with Rex Burkhead. They would go to him too, and we don't have him anymore. So they're trying to, and you can see that they're definitely trying to incorporate Damien Harris more to the passing game, but obviously he is not the same reliable pass catcher as James White or Rex Burkhead. So it's a little tricky to see, but I think that they definitely need to, because if they're not going to be able to use the run game, then they're going to have to use those guys in some capacity, because it's pretty useless of Damien Harris and how talented he is of a player to not be used at all in a game. I think that they'll definitely try. It just depends, I guess. I mean, I really like what we've been seeing out of Kendrick Bourne. I really like the connection that he and Max seem to have, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, they definitely need, and the same thing too. The tight ends. I want to see more of the tight ends. I want to see double tight end packages. We've been talking about that all off season, and we haven't really seen that. Obviously, the Hunter Henry and Jono Smith each got touchdowns last week, which I loved. And I hope that we can keep on that track, especially Jono, because obviously he was having issues with catching the ball a couple weeks ago. So if they can just start using more of those types of plays, I think that they would be a lot better and more productive than they have been. Faisal says Bolden is so inconsistent. He could drop 3 passes and fumble, but also run for a 50-yard touchdown. Yeah, basically, like against the Saints, he was pretty bad. I mean, I saw that play where I think it was a 3rd down play, and he like turned his back to the defense and like was trying to like push his way backwards over the line. And it was just like, what are you doing? And then he has games where, you know, like last week that he was like pretty good and pretty reliable. So I think that's just kind of the moral, or like, I don't know. So far this season, I would say that the Patriots are inconsistent. Like that's the easiest term to use. And it's unfortunate because I think that they had a great roster coming into the season. It just hasn't panned out the way that I think any of us were predicting. Let's see. Another thing, penalties. I wanted to emphasize penalties. That has been an issue. What was it? It wasn't last year. Was it the year before? Was it really 2019 or 2020? I can't remember, when the Patriots were one of the least penalized teams in the league. And now we're going, I mean, we're definitely not like the Bucks bad, because the Bucks have been getting penalized really bad. But so far, the Patriots have a total of 26 penalties for 245 yards, and they're averaging 61 yards of penalties per game, which is insane. That is huge. And they're getting penalties that are so silly too, like you know, the 12 men on the field. Like that's so avoidable. It's such a ridiculous penalty to get, because it's like, come on guys, you are far more disciplined than that. Or was it Onwenu who had like 2 holding calls in a row, and it was just like very unlike Onwenu. Obviously we saw the great player that he was last year, so to get penalized that back to back was just like very odd for him. But yeah, this just, I mean, you can't win football games when you're getting penalized, you know, that many times. Plus, like I said, they have 26 penalties for 245 yards, and so far their opponents this season have 22 for 194, and they're averaging 48.5 yards in penalties per game. So you're not going to win football games if you're getting that many penalties, and you're not going to win football games when you're getting that much more penalties and penalty yardage than your opponent. So, I'm gonna get to the, oh yeah, in the red zone too. Yeah, Ross says penalties in the red zone this season too. Yeah, I mean, there's so many issues with the red zone, but definitely penalties is an issue. This kind of goes hand in hand. Is one of the other concerns I have for this game is the offense needs to finish drives. They're not that successful converting 3rd down plays. They're actually only converting 41%. And they're only scoring a touchdown on 36% of their red zone attempts. So, you know, they're able to get into the red zone, but they're not able to convert it into points. They're not able to finish drives. They're not able to complete their 3rd down plays. That's not completely a Mac Jones thing. I think that we are all very aware that Josh McDaniels tends to call some ridiculous plays on 3rd and long. That's the other thing too, is a lot of their 3rd downs, it's not like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3. It's been very much like 3rd and 7. So those are obviously more difficult to convert than a 3rd and 1, a 3rd and 3. But McDaniel's calling, you know, a running play when the run game hasn't been doing anything all game. Like, what are we doing here? You know, sitting there just like wanting to punch your TV because Josh McDaniels is calling something ridiculous again. So, they need to get that figured out too, because we can't have an entire season where the defenses can't carry the whole year. You can't expect your defense to do everything. I mean, obviously there are definitely teams that have a defensive heavy team or an offensive heavy team. Obviously the Patriots are included in that too. We all are familiar, but you have to also score points in order to win. So, and so far the defense hasn't done that. They haven't had pick sixes and any of that. So, we'll get into the defense in just a second, actually. Yeah, actually, let's just talk about it right now. Let's talk about the defense. And then we're going to get into the Texans and how they rate offensively and defensively. Let's just see what you guys are saying really quickly. Ross says, Bolden is a Swiss Army knife, but doesn't do anything great. Solid blocker, solid special teamer, but not a big-time playmaker, unfortunately. Yeah, I think that's just, just Brandon Bolden for you, really. He can be great when he's great, and he's bad when he's bad. So hopefully we're going to kind of get something in the middle tomorrow, or hopefully he'll be good. Like I said, they can't rely only on Damian Harris, basically. I mean, they have to be spreading that ball around. Faisal says, Bourne and Myers look good. Tight ends are easing in. Aguilar looks but it's mainly he's the main guy, so defenses put their number one cornerback on him because Myers is slot. Yeah, I was hoping to see more from Aguilar, but I think that they know, obviously, he's a deep threat, so they're going to double cover him. I would love to see more from him, but they're kind of treating him, like you said, basically as their number one receiver. It's kind of the same thing where even though Jacoby Myers has the most yards out of any of the receivers right now, he's still being treated as a wide receiver one. So that then leaves people like Kendrick Bourne open, or the tight ends possibly, which is a little crazy if you think about it. So let's get into the Patriots defense. So Matt Judon is a beast, and I feel like I need to stop tweeting about him because he's probably going to think I'm like a weirdo. But I love this guy, and I think he is probably one of the best free agent signings so far that Belichick has ever had. He's just absolutely killing it. Basically the only reliable guy on defense this year who's actually just like game in and game out is producing and doing exactly what the Patriots need. I broke down some of these numbers as far as like the pass rush and blah, 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 blah. So Judon leads the team with 4.5 sacks, and Uche is right below him at 3. Judon is leading in basically like every category that you could, basically break down the defense in. Quarterback hits, Judon has 8, Uche has 3. Tackles for a loss, Judon has 6. And then surprisingly, Duggar has 5. Then Uche with 3. Quarterback knockdowns, Judon with 3. Winovich with 1. Quarterback pressures, Judon with 9. So he's killing it. And I think that we're going to have to keep seeing that from him. And I'm hoping that we do. I feel like he's just getting better and better now that he's kind of settling in more, and he's understanding the Patriots more and getting comfortable, obviously. We're just seeing better play from him every single week, which is great because I feel like the rest of the linebackers besides Uche are basically pretty quiet this year. So the fact that he's able to stand out and continuously do this type of production every game is certainly fantastic. And the defense has allowed, Kyle Van Noy, Jonathan Jones, and Duggar have all allowed 1 touchdown. So let's compare. The offense has scored 6 touchdowns on the year. They have 2 rushing, 4 passing, and then we know that Mac threw a pick 6. And the defense has allowed only 6 touchdowns, 3 rushes, and 3 passes. So it's basically like very split, obviously. Can't really predict what the Texans are going to do, but 6 touchdowns on the year is pretty good, I would say, overall. If we're going into week 5, only 6 touchdowns, especially holding the crazy Bucs offense last week to only 1. I mean, I know that we lost that game, but the fact that they were able to contain Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, that they were able to contain those guys to only 1 touchdown is pretty great. So I'm hopeful that because this Texas offense is a little depleted, that they'll be able to take advantage of that. So let's get into the Texans number. Let me check the comments. Faisal saying, Harry, this is my last stride for him. Yep. I was going to mention him in a little bit, so we'll get into that in just a second. Ross said, Judon is beast mode, kept getting held the entire Tampa game. It was plain ridiculous. It really was. Watching some of those clips back, it was so crazy to me. Like, I'm not saying that Chris Collinsworth is the best guy to use as an example or to quote. But that one where they did a replay and he even called it out saying like, oh yeah, okay, that's legal, like in a very sarcastic way. It's like, if Collinsworth is admitting that, then you know that it's bad, because he's not really the type of guy that does that very often. So, and when he does, then you know that it is pretty bad. And then Ross continues to say the linebacker core has been the most problematic in coverage and run stoppage. Yeah. That's the thing, is like they've just been very quiet. And Judon has been standing out, and that's great, and I love what we're seeing from him, but obviously again, he can't be doing it on his own. I was really hopeful that Kyle Van Noy was going to be able to be a force coming back, just because of his familiarity, of course. And then of course, Hightower as well. He had that year off. I think everybody was really excited for him to come back. And we just haven't really seen a whole lot from him. No one's really talking about him. He's not a name that we're really seeing a whole lot from. So, trying not to be super disappointed, because it is just, I guess we're going into week 5. I feel like, how long can I still say? It's only week whatever. But I'm hoping that that'll pick up. I think that they have the potential to be a really great linebacker core, and it's just it's not been looking that way too much right now. So the Texans, so they are the third in their division at 1-3. They're only above Jacksonville, who have not won a game yet. Their only winning game was actually week 1 against Jacksonville, when they beat them 37-21, but that was with Tyrod Taylor. And like I said, a week or two after that is when he was put on IR, and I'm not sure when he's coming back. The Texans offense is ranked 29th overall. They are 29th in passing and 26th in rushing. And the Patriots are 27th overall, 18th in passing and 31st in rushing. So not too good. But hopefully the Patriots defense can take advantage of how lowly ranked the offense is. As I mentioned earlier, Davis Mills, I'm assuming, is going to be their quarterback tomorrow. He has started in 2 games. He's played in 3. He's 0-2. He's 38 of 67, which is 56.7% for 357 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's been sacked 8 times. 5 interceptions in 2 games is a little bad, but what's crazier is I believe 4 of them came last game. I believe that he threw 4 interceptions last week against the Bills. So that's something that I was hoping the Patriots could take advantage of, especially we know our king, J.C. Jackson. Maybe he'll be able to get an interception, because this guy seems to throw a lot of them. Their rushing leaders, we have Mark Ingram, 52 carries for 171 yards and a touchdown. David Johnson, 16 carries for 67 yards. And Philip Lindsay's not doing a whole lot. It's crazy to think that just a couple of years ago, he was this huge name running back. 24 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. Not too scary of numbers. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're doing a whole lot on the run game right now, which is a little bit surprising given their quarterback situation. But their receiving core is definitely very much Brandon Cooks, like by far. Brandon Cooks is 28 of 39 for 369 yards, but only 1 touchdown. And then right below him is Pharaoh Brown, who's 5 of 8 for 73 yards. He's a tight end, in case you are unfamiliar. I mean, that's a huge jump going from 369 to 73. So I think that the biggest issue, of course, is going to be Brandon Cooks. I think that J.C. Jackson said in his presser this week that he was going to be the one to cover Brandon Cooks. So I'm hoping that he can keep up with him. Brandon Cooks is very good at getting defensive pass interference calls. So definitely have to be very careful of that. He's like the master of it, and when he's on your team, it's wonderful because he's so good at it. But then when he's on the opponent's team, obviously it is very annoying that he's very good at it. So hopefully they'll be able to shut him down, but also not have that then open the door for another guy to emerge tomorrow. They've also been using David Johnson in the passing game. He's 8 of 10 for 67 yards and a touchdown. And like I said, Amendola is having an year, but he's 6 of 6 for 43 yards and a touchdown, which I believe his touchdown came a couple weeks ago. Their defense also has allowed 14 total touchdowns on the year, 6 passing and 8 rushing, but 4 of the rushing touchdowns were by quarterbacks. I'm assuming we're not going to see that from Mac Jones tomorrow. I don't think he's really known as the most mobile guy. But if they did get to like, second and goal or something, and he could do that. But, it's good to see that they're allowing a little bit more passing touchdowns and the rushing touchdowns because, we're not really seeing a whole lot from the running game on the Patriots. They also have 7 sacks on the season so far, 3 of which came from Whitney Merciless. Of course, we know that name, and he's the scariest name on there. He also has 3 of the 15 quarterback hits for the team. And they do have 7 forced fumbles, 2 of which came from Terrence Mitchell. So since the Patriots have been really bad with ball security, that number worried me a little bit because that's a lot of forced fumbles. And, the Patriots running backs especially have been having butterfingers. So that's going to certainly need to be something that they have to pay attention to extra tomorrow, because I'm sure that given their situation offensively, particularly by their quarterback, they're going to be trying to do whatever they can on defense to try and get one leg up on the Patriots offense. And obviously, anything that they can do to help their offense stay off the field, I'm gonna guess, they're gonna do. So definitely want to pay attention to that. I feel like, let's see, get into your questions really quick. Ron94 says we got to stop the run early on defense, because if we can't do that, then it's going to be long forces to I can't speak today, guys. So it's going to be forcing Mills to pass. Yes. So that's what we want, because obviously the more he passes, the higher the chance is that he will throw an interception. Like I said, he threw 4 last week. So, they definitely need to get on that early. And the last couple of games, they haven't. So, they did shut down Kamara for the most part in the run game, but didn't shut down Kamara in general. And I can't remember how they did last week, but they need to. I mean, that's something that they've needed to work on for a couple of years now. I feel like it's gotten a little bit better, but the defense is inconsistent, as I said. It's basically like the word to describe the entirety of the team. So, obviously that is the best thing that they could do tomorrow. Hopefully they can. I definitely don't want to turn the game on and they just are not doing anything to begin with. It just sets the tone. It just puts you in such a bad mood at the beginning of the game. It's kind of unfair, not fun to watch, All right, so more of the questions heading into this game. Can the Patriots defense take advantage of a young quarterback? Davis took 3 sacks last week and 4 the week before against Carolina. So, what is that? 7 sacks in the last 2 weeks. If they can keep him on the ground, force him to pass, like you just said, and knock him down, I'm hopeful that Judon can get through that. I think because he's getting sacked, it seems like their offensive line is not doing the best job at protecting him either. And of course, he's also a rookie who's going to make rookie mistakes, possibly hold on to the ball too long. So I want to see Judon just completely go off tomorrow. Would love to see more from Uche as well, Hightower. They just really need to bring that pressure and get Mills on his butt, Defense got to do something. And I said, of course, will J.C. Jackson get another interception with 4 last week by Mills? I feel like, J.C. is going to have a possible field day tomorrow trying to, get something. He got 2 a couple weeks ago, so I'm really hopeful that he can somehow get his hands on 1 or 2 interceptions, that would be awesome. Ross says, has Ramondre been activated yet? Not as far as I know. I have not seen anything. He hasn't been on the injury report either. So, of course, if he's going to be cut, then it's just going to be red shirt thing, a healthy scratch type of thing. We'll probably know. We'll know tomorrow, obviously. I'm assuming we won't know today. Oh, and this is another question that we already kind of talked about, but will the backups to the offensive line drastically impact the results of the game? Will Mac be able to overcome those issues? Obviously, those are not issues that are easy for even a seasoned veteran to overcome. So I'm not expecting anything fantastic tomorrow. I don't think that you can really set your expectations too high coming into this game. But Belichick seems like so optimistic, or he just like does not care and is just coming off very la-di-da. Because I'm like, no, I'm like sitting here really like nervous and like freaked out about the game, and worried about how this game is going to go. And it just is like, you look at Belichick and it's just like, oh yeah, like, it is what it is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, guy, whatever. And despite the injured offensive line, will the Patriots plan to use the run game a lot in this game? Will we see the emergence of the Boston Tea Party? I love that name, and whoever came up with it, kudos to you, because I think that's perfect. I think that they're going to have to use the tight ends. I feel like it's an unfair advantage to a lot of teams to have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith lined up on the line at the same time. How do you choose who to cover, and who do you go after? Who do you try to bring down? They're both like really big dudes. So I think they need to definitely incorporate them somehow. I don't know how the run game is going to go. I think that they're going to have to test it and see how it goes from the beginning. Because of the offensive line. We don't even know what the offensive line is going to be. We can, make the prediction of what we think it's going to be, but we still don't know. So I think it's just all going to depend on how that goes and early on in the game, unfortunately. And so that is when we're going to get the answer. I don't know that we can predict it beforehand. And the last question I have, which I said, I think it was Faisal that said it, yes, about N'Keal Harry. So will N'Keal Harry be more involved in this game? Because last week he had 1 catch for 10 yards. And will we see more of Kendrick Bourne? I'm hopeful for both. Of course, N'Keal Harry was injured. He was on IR until last week, and he did have the 1 catch. So it's really hard to say if we're going to get the same N'Keal Harry that we've been seeing for the few years, or if we're going to see something that we haven't seen yet. But I think, they need to see if there's a way that they can incorporate him. He specifically had mentioned being incorporated in the red zone. So, if they could somehow do that. I really want to see more of Kendrick Bourne as well. I think that he just has that chemistry with Mac, and he's doing really well. So, they need to take advantage of that momentum that they have with him. And, they're not, the defense is not really too worried, or they're not like double covering him. So, that is obviously a huge benefit to them. And I feel like to ignore that is just silly. And with all of the issues that they've been having on offense, I feel like they have to do something different. And using Kendrick Bourne would be a good one. D22 Williams says, why should Belichick be nervous? He'll be prepared, not his first rodeo. Oh, I know. I just meant like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't mean that he should be nervous. I just mean like, I just felt like he seemed a little bit more optimistic than I think most people. Regarding the offensive line anyway. Ross says the Celtics are 39-29. Well, woohoo. Who are they playing? The Raptors? Is that it? Yeah, I think that's like all I have to talk about, guys. There's not a whole lot. Tomorrow is a must-win game. Seemed like the type of game that they have every chance of winning. I don't really know how many people are going to actually be picking the Texans to win. But anything could happen. We've seen, some weird stuff, but based off of how they played last week, I would love for that to continue into this week. Despite them losing against the Bucks, they hung in there, and it ended up being 1-2 point games. So if they can continue on that path into this game, then there's no reason why they should lose. But as I said, ball security, penalties, and they have to convert third downs, and of course the red zone. It's funny. It seems like, oh, it's this issue, and this issue, but they are pretty big ones that it's like it's not just easy to overcome. So they need to get their stuff together, guys, or we're just, I don't know, we're gonna have to just lower our expectations more. But I'm being optimistic, fingers crossed. I'm gonna be hopeful, like I always am when I watch these games, and just you know, it's a tough season. A lot of weird things have happened, and I think that we're seeing a lot of stuff that we should be excited about. So not everything is bad. I know that when you go on Twitter or other social media platforms, a lot of it is very doom and gloom, and Patriots fans are very unhappy. But I think that we need to take the little wins where we can get them and be excited about it, because there are some teams that have nothing to look forward to. So we're lucky that our entire franchise is not a mess. Just try to remember that. So before I leave you guys, gotta say, go Pats. Thank you guys for joining me on my live stream today. Hopefully I'll be back probably on Tuesday or Wednesday. We shall see. But thank you guys for all the interactions, and don't forget to subscribe, share the video. Get the word out there about Smarsh. I'd appreciate it. So thank you guys, and I shall see you next week. Go Pats!